Good afternoon and welcome back to our Family and Friends update, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Petronila Ndebele and I'm the Director of Strategic Communications and Stakeholder Relations and your MC for today. I am an immigrant and originally from Zimbabwe. My family and I came to Canada in 2010, a place we now proudly call home. We are committed to learn and reflect on the history of this country. And now I would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. We also acknowledge that we are all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. Today, we pay tribute to the ancestors of those of African and Indigenous origin and descent. It's great to be here today with all of you. And as usual, before we begin our program, a few housekeeping issues to go over. We ask that you please use the Q&A function to make a comment or ask a question. You will notice the agenda that is coming on your screen shortly. We have a lot to share with you today, and kindly let Julia Silani know if you're experiencing any technical issues. Michelle Pedridis will be controlling the slides. So if you're presenting today, please ask her when slides need to be changed. Without any further delay, I would like to welcome our first presenters, Jenna Martinezzi, Ferrosetta, Tracy Oregon, who will be sharing exciting stories and updates from their recent time in Israel while on Canada-Israel inclusion trip. Welcome, Farah, Jenna, and Tracy. We cannot wait to hear about all your experiences in Israel. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty. Farah and Jenna and I had the pleasure of attending the mission in early June. It was such a full agenda, but I think we all came away with it with different learnings and different feelings from the trip. And Jenna and Farah have put together some slides of information that they'd like to share with you. Next slide, please. So this is just a picture of the group, just trying to highlight how big the group was. Many participants were from different agencies across Canada, all agencies that support people with disabilities. And this is just a great shot highlighting everybody. Next slide, please. And now Farah is going to talk about what the purpose of the trip was.
Yeah, okay. Purpose of the trip. One, for two, for learn, or for think about, or think resources, and for services, or for people with for disabilities in Israel. Make for connections with, or for and, or for learn, or for the about, or for the agencies, or in, or for Canada, and over and over the in, over the we'll see. Israel. Thumb, thumb, thumb over Canadian, over the agencies, who was participated, or was included, or was the CLTO, Rena, for Danny, Holland, for both of you, for Kamish, safe, safe, for Haven, Gem, Norfolk, for community living, and last three, Canadian, Canadian, for caregivers.
Thanks, Farah. Can we have the next slide, please? Yeah. So even though we saw, my gosh, so many, such a variety of different facilities that we toured, these are the three that Farah and Jenna wanted to highlight for today, and they've asked me to talk a bit about them. The first was Alute, which was a daycare for people with autism. And at this place, we got to see how services are provided for elementary school age children in a congregated setting, but all the services were uniquely brought to them. So it included, OT support, speech and language, ABA therapy, kind of unique in a way that, instead of like here where parents have to bring those services to their child, they would bring their child there where all the services were provided. The other one they wanted to highlight was Beat Iso Shapiro. And this was a place where we had some really great presentations. We did get to see their special education therapy school, their adapted dental clinic and snoozling room. But what was unique to Farah and Jen about this place was where a lot of thought and policy change comes from. We got to hear a great presentation from a member of their Self-Advocate Council, which Farah and Jenna found quite moving. The last one was the Negev Erin, was a place in the desert, which was kind of unique. We drove into the desert and you got to this great facility where there was a large congregate residential living site. But what Farah and Jenna found intriguing about this place was definitely the specialized equipment that was provided to all the students in the school. They liked the idea about them having therapy animals. So they had horses, they had goats, they had all kinds of things. And what was also special about this place was that they had a working farm. So people there did participate in farming, and the actual produce is sold to community members. Next slide, please. And Jenna's going to talk a little bit about what they learned.
We learned a variety of services and residential placements, government policies, and funding for services for people with disabilities in Israel. Physical equipment that is used to support people with disabilities, and also different agencies in Canada that support people with disabilities.
Thanks, Jenna. Can we have the next slide, please? But we also had fun. We did get 2 days off out of the 9-day trip. And these are the activities that Farah and Jenna wanted to highlight. So Jenna and Farah will both read out some of the things that they enjoyed doing.
I enjoyed the beach in Tel Aviv, the Java port, and also the Israeli building helicopter pad.
Also, we saw the market, old for Jerusalem. Participated in for Shabbat or for dinner, and then for lastly tour of Masada and the sea.
Thanks, Farah and Jenna. Can we get the last slide? Next slide. So Farah and Jenna and I took, I don't know how many different pictures. So we went through some of them. And these are the ones that they chose to share with you. And they've asked me to just to do a little description of each picture really quickly. So this is Farah and Jenna on the plane leaving, looking very refreshed. This is a picture of what we saw from our hotel room in Tel Aviv. This is the Mediterranean Sea that we got to see every morning, which was absolutely beautiful. This is a picture of Old Jerusalem, just one of many pictures of Old Jerusalem, which was an amazing tour that we did. Next. Yeah, and that's the night at the Mediterranean. So we actually had a beautiful dinner one night at a restaurant with all the participants, and we all went out to see the sun setting on the Mediterranean. So it was beautiful. And this is the Western Wall in Old Jerusalem, which was quite emotional for all of us to see. And that is the view from Masada. So that's just one of the many pictures we have of the actual desert below the Masada. And that again is a beautiful picture of the Mediterranean. You can tell that they love the water. I did too. It was fun walking in it, right? Like it was great. Next. Yeah, and that is the view from the helicopter pad. You can't tell from there how high we are up, but it was quite exhilarating. There's no fence around it, so you're up there very high up, and it did get to our stomachs a little bit, but it was great. And that's a view from Masada again, just to give you a sense of how high up the fort is. And that's a picture of our last dinner. And I'm noticing Brad's not in there, and I apologize, Brad. So that's Jenna, Farah, and I, and Susan Silma, who also attended the trip, as well as Brad. And that's our final dinner together. All the participants were there just to reflect on the experience. And there is a picture of Farah at the Western Wall. And that's just one of the beautiful mosaics that is in the Church of the Sephler, which is in Old Jerusalem. And there is Farah and Jenna just getting out of being in the Dead Sea. And that is the market that Farah spoke about. It was quite intense. It was quite crowded, quite a great energy at the market. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Oh my, what an incredible trip. Thank you so much, Farah, Jenna, and Tracy, for sharing your experiences, and glad to hear that you also had some fun. I'm sure you had the opportunity to buy some souvenirs from the market. How was that ride, Tracy, from the helicopter pad? How was that ride?
We didn't get to ride. We just got to go up the building. It was at the top of the Israeli building. And I think a lot of us didn't know what to expect until you get up. And it was, I'm not usually afraid of heights, and neither is Farah and Jenna, but it really you did want to stay in the center because there is no wall. Goodness. So it was pretty, it was pretty intense.
Oh my God, I can only imagine that. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. We really appreciate it. Next, I would like now to welcome Heather Dawson, our Director for Quality and Risk, to share some information on the upcoming Family and Support Network survey. Heather, please take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Petronella. And wow, what a fabulous trip and experience. Thanks so much for sharing. That was really interesting to see. So I will be providing an update on the Family Experience Survey, which was introduced at last month's Family and Friends webinar. And if you could just go to the next slide, I'll just speak to some comments on that. So as you may recall, I mentioned at the last webinar that we have engaged a company called Forum Research, which is an external research company to develop and implement a survey to gather information on family experience. This project is being driven by the Service Excellence Committee of the board, and it's undertaking the project as a way to ensure that Community Living Toronto is consistently meeting or exceeding expectations of people supported in their families. So we're doing this, we're building on the recent success of the family engagement that was conducted as part of the Community Participation and Supports redevelopment. And this survey will be targeted to families in supported living, specialized services, and specific programs within community supports. So as you can see on the slide, the survey will be asking if we're meeting your expectations and where we can improve when it comes to providing supports and services that best meet your needs and those of your family members. How we're doing when it comes to communication with families, supporting family members, and our culture of equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So in terms of timing, we're currently pre-testing the survey with a few families to ensure that the questions are easy to understand and that the survey is easy to answer. The survey will be conducted by phone and email, and we're using the email addresses that we currently have on file as the means to reach out to family members or a support network. So over the next couple of weeks, you will receive an email just confirming your interest in participating in the survey. And we'll also be asking if your preference is to have the survey conducted in a language other than English, or in a way other than phone or online. So please keep your eye out for that email and respond back if you so choose. We're also going to be posting the survey on our CLTO website when the survey goes live in July. And in the meantime, we do have an email address that has been set up for anyone who has any questions with respect to the survey. And I think that's just being posted right now. So you can see it in the chat. The email address is cltosurvey@communityliving.ca, and that's being monitored very regularly, and we'll get back to you with any questions that you may have. So that's an update. Just wanted to give you a sense of how the progress on this project, and to let you know that the survey will be coming to your email address or via phone in July. So happy to answer any questions that anyone might have about the project.
Thanks so much, Heather. There's a question that which languages will the survey be available? Are you able to give some examples?
Through Forum Research, which is the third-party company that we are implementing the survey through, they have a vast number of researchers who can provide the survey in many different languages. So if there's a specific language that a person is looking to have the survey conducted in, they should be able to meet that requirement. So you can, if you want to email me at cltosurvey@communitylivingtoronto.ca, I can address that specifically.
Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions. So thank you. We look forward to hearing more about the outcomes of the survey. Experience survey can help us to improve our existing programs and services. I think there's one last more question here, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I find the eligibility? Oh, I think this one is not for you. So you are off the hook.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. Next, I would like to call upon Derek Feltz, our program manager, who's going to present on respite choices. Derek, please take it away and over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Petronella. Before I get started, I just want to say happy Indigenous Heritage Month to everybody on the call, and happy Pride Month. Hope you're getting out, enjoying the beautiful weather, and learning about the great cultures that we have here in Toronto. I am the programs manager of the Respite Choices, and I'm happy to be giving you a little bit of an update on our programs. Next slide, please. Next slide. Great. So if you're new to the term of respite, let me just review what respite is. So it's a short break for people who are providing care to a dependent, and that can be a child or a adult dependent. At that point, we provide short-term breaks. It could be for a weekend. In the summer, we extend our hours. So now that the kids are out of school, we can book up to a week, and we provide overnight or even just day or a few hours. The flexibility and the way that it's defined is really up to you, and the availability of the program. The more notice we get, the more flexible we can be at accommodating your requests. And we book up to 6 months in advance for our programs. So a lot of great possibilities. During the summer, it's much like a summer camp environment. We're doing crafts, we're going out on outings, we're setting up sprinklers and running through things. We're going to the parks and having barbecues and just having a really great time overall. And we like to promote independence and life skills where we can. So if you have some goals with your loved ones that you'd like us to work on, let us know, and we'll try and enforce that. So that way we know that learning, if it's being consistently done, we can help provide that education and that support to your loved ones throughout their experiences. So there's no break in, and you're not missing out on the opportunity of maybe learning a skill at home, but then it not being addressed in another environment. Next slide, please. So just a overview on a couple of our programs. So we have a triad respite program. This is a specialized resource home. We have a age group of 6 to 17 with a primary diagnosis of autism. And the Tri-Region Autism Respite Initiative, which is age group of 11 to 17. And Adrena Bennett's our children's respite coordinator, who would be able to answer as many questions about this program as possible. It doesn't fall under my portfolio, but I'm happy to address any questions that I can answer or give you the contact information for Adrena if you have an interest in this program. Next slide. We offer after school and evening respite at Lawson and Ennerdale. And this runs between Mondays to Thursdays. Booking is per semester of the year, so about 3 semesters, and we do September to December, January to March, and April to June. And an expression of interest needs to happen with each one. So we don't grandfather people in. You have to let us know that you're interested in the next semester and what hours of support that you're specifically looking for. And as of this fall, we will be moving to My Community Hub so that it's widely available and people can express their interest through there and process their payments a little bit more easily. Next slide, please. The West End After School Respite is run out of our Triad program. And again, this is for children ages 11 to 17. And they're set up very much in the same way as having 3 sessions for the semesters of school. And it runs Monday to Thursday, 3 to 6 p.m. Next slide, please. Lawson is one of the programs that does fall under my portfolio. So you'll see some beautiful pictures here. We have a lovely snoozling space, lots of places for the kids, and of course, decorated bedrooms. Children and youth with any intellectual disability or autism. And we support kids at this location from the ages of 2 all the way until their 18th birthday. And then once they hit 18, we start discussing on transitions to adult respite. And the children must live with like a family member or somebody who's kind of like an unpaid caregiver in order to apply. Next slide. Ennerdale is another one of my programs. And this location is for a primary diagnosis of autism. A child can have another diagnosis aside, so with autism, but autism has to be at least one of the diagnoses. And again, this is a home that we can support up to 4 children at a time, and from the ages of 2 all the way to their 18th birthday again. Next slide. And adult respite. So we're really excited to let you know that we are on the pathway of opening up our adult respite. If you have a phone handy, I'd recommend you take a screenshot of this page here, because some of the information you may need to gather, we do need a DSO letter and to make sure that we have the right people accessing the supports and services. The DSO is a great support to helping any families that are inquiring and looking for the right assessments to be completed in order to access adult services. Next slide, please. So as I said, Sibley Parkview is coming soon, and we are hoping to have a soft reopening as of August 9th. If you have had adult respite services with us in the past, we will be reaching out. We'll be emailing and calling to let you know and give you that access to the newest intake packages. If you have previous intake packages, I just recommend that you discard those because lots of changes have happened. So we're going to be giving you new information that needs to be filled out and updated so that we're in compliance with the legislation. Again, adults must live with a family or guardian, and anywhere between the ages of 18 and above, we will support. Next slide. And this is just some of the construction images I wanted to share with you. So they are making their way. The bathrooms are big and beautiful. This washroom here doesn't show on the other side. We actually have a tub as well, so it's quite large. The finishes are happening in our kitchen spaces, and the picture with the blue walls is actually going to be a community space and a community kitchen space where people will be able to engage in learning activities, karaoke, I'm hoping, and bingo nights and all sorts of other things. The limits are it's unlimitless is what I'm trying to say. And two of our bedrooms in Respite are going to be equipped with ceiling Hoyer lifts, which will be wonderful for anybody who has a bit more accessibility needs. And our doors will open with the wave open component as well. So we've really taken accessibility and tried to keep that front of mind for these spaces. And if you haven't been to Sibley before, we're right across the street from a beautiful park space, and have some amazing plans for the yard as a phase 2 to the renovations of this property. Next slide. So how to access Respite. If you email us at Respite Choices at cltoronto.ca, and I think we're going to get that in the chat for you soon. We are pretty much booked for the summer with the exception of adult Respite. Once we open up the registrations for that, we will let you know and people can start booking. But children's Respite, our intake has been completed. If you haven't booked days yet, I strongly encourage that you get in touch with Charmaine or Nicole to start booking any days that have not been booked. But the programs are filling up very, very quickly for the summer. I believe our August vacancies are completely full, and we have some vacancies still available in July. Next slide. And I'm running out of time, so we'll skip this this stuff here. And for questions and inquiries, I just ask that you reach out to us, and we're happy to help in any way possible. And email me directly as well. Next slide. If you take out your phones and take a quick screenshot, this is our team and how to reach all of us. A great resource for if you're having trouble getting through or getting to somebody. I'm always happy to take a phone call myself. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Derek. Michelle, may we keep this slide on the few requests for people to take the phone numbers and contact details? If we can also put them in the chat, that would be awesome. Thank you, Derek, for sharing the program information, and we look forward to the opening of many exciting program spaces and unlimited activities, as you pointed out. Okay, I think we are good. We can move on. And a good segue to Happy Pride Month, Happy Indigenous History Month. And we welcome our Director for Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, Joe Pesot, to present on activities and celebrations throughout June in observance of Pride Month and Indigenous History Month. Over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Patty, and let's get started. But however, before we get started, welcome everybody. I think I saw there was about 74 people on the call. So really
I know.
Yeah,
good number.
Absolutely. So before I get started, though, just a reminder that just around some terminology, when I say AR, I'm referring to anti-racism. And when I say EDI, it's short for equity, diversity, and inclusion. So it can become a mouthful if I say it each time, and I have limited time, so I'm going to save some that way. So let's jump right in, and I have lots to share and celebrate. So on the slide, you see our 5 key pillars for AR and EDI strategy. However, today you'll see the yellow highlight. I'll focus our update on pillar number 3, commitment and engagement, and the 2 focus areas regarding communicating activities internally and externally, and some specific efforts at developing psychologically safe spaces on behalf of a couple of our featured employee resource groups in June, specifically our Indigenous group and our 2S LGBTQ+ employee resource group. They've branded themselves Indigenous Talking Circle and Pride Collective. All right, next slide. Great. So June is one of the busiest months of the year for cultural awareness and recognition, with 5 cultures designated for raising awareness and celebrating. During the month, we shared educational posts and resources and promoted community-based events for Indigenous history and pride, as well as Filipino, Portuguese, and Italian heritage. These events can be found internally in our dedicated AR EDI SharePoint page and externally on our dedicated EDI webpage on CLTO's website. Examples of some cultural events that we've promoted are the Due West Fest in Little Portugal, Taste of Little Italy, and the Pinoy Fiesta and Trade Show in Scarborough, celebrating Philippine Independence Day. The next 2 slides will highlight 2 of the most historically marginalized groups being recognized and celebrated this month. That's our Indigenous peoples and members of the 2S LGBTQ+ community. This is what it means to amplify their voices and encourage allyship with these equity-deserving communities. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. So first, our Indigenous Talking Circle employee resource group organized 3 significant events that were open to external registrations and were all well attended by staff and supported people, as well as sector partners. This included 2 learning events presented by EJ Kwandavens. We kicked off the month with his talk about Indigenous History Month and why it's important and what people can do to honor the month. And hope you'll be able to join us for his upcoming talk on Canada Day. What does it look like now? If you've experienced EJ's talks in the past, you know how engaging and compelling he can be. He's an amazing storyteller. So I really hope you can join us for that one. We also hosted a talk about the 60s Scoop by our friends at Native Child and Family Services, Terry Jaffe, Senior Supervisor of Cultural Programs, and Kevin Fujita, Elder and Knowledge Carrier. What's the 60s Scoop? It is yet another dark period in our country's history and its complicated relationship with our Indigenous peoples, in which a series of policies were enacted that enabled child welfare authorities to take or scoop up Indigenous children from their families and communities for placement in foster homes, from which they would be stripped of their Indigenous language, culture, and identities. The intergenerational trauma caused by these and other oppressive policies continues to have profound negative impacts and outcomes for Indigenous peoples and communities today. So it's important that we listen to these stories, continue to learn and unlearn our shared history, and individually and collectively take action to right these wrongs imposed on our Indigenous peoples and communities. Also, I would like to highlight on this slide, as you see there, that our Indigenous Talking Circle circulated a call for expressions of interest for new members inclusive of the people we support, to join their group with a simple and humble request for a commitment to come with open hearts and minds to share and participate in a safe space. Next slide, please. So now I'll talk a little bit about our Pride Collective Employee Resource Group and the events that they've organized and we've supported throughout the month, which were well attended by staff and supported people. They kicked off the month with a fun tie-dye event at our Gooderham site in Scarborough on June 1st. And I believe over about 50 attended and had a ton of fun. We look forward to sharing some great photographs in an upcoming newsletter or post, and want to thank Louise Esteves for taking some great photographs. So you can see some of the results of that soon. And we hosted a webinar that featured award-winning disability awareness consultant and podcaster Andrew Gurza about sex and disability, acknowledging that people with disabilities are sexual beings like everyone else, and his talk demystified myths and misconceptions. And this webinar was well attended by internal and external guests. As well, this group has demonstrated great vulnerability and courage and pride by inviting all those who want to attend weekly lunch and learn gatherings. We've tended to schedule them for Wednesdays around noon, where individual Pride Collective members are supported to tell their coming out stories in a psychologically safe space. Powerful stories have been shared to date, and overwhelmingly support and appreciation has been expressed by those in attendance for our 2S LGBTQ plus, L2S LGBTQ plus, I keep saying the two, I'm getting used to it, colleagues, so I apologize for that. These lunch and learns have been well attended by CLTO staff, averaging approximately about 60 attendees per session, which is absolutely amazing and a testament to CLTO and its employees. With permission from a quote from Derek Phelps. Hey, Derek, see you there. I'd just like to share that with you. After Derek had presented and shared his coming out story, this was something he shared with the group, is he had an overwhelming amount of positive feedback, some staff disclosing how either their children or other people close to them are coming out and what his story did for them in learning about this journey. He was on the verge of tears for the remainder of the day, and thinking about it again now makes his eyes water a little all over again. Had no idea the impact that sharing his story would have on so many people, including himself. And just a couple more points here. With Pride Month, closing it out with the annual flagship event. We're promoting Pride Parade on June 25th and encourage everyone to attend. It's one of North America's largest Pride Parade. And don't forget that it's a whole weekend of celebration. The Diet Marches, the Trans March is tomorrow, and the Diet March is on Saturday as well before Sunday's big parade. And note that we now have representation on Pride Parade's Accessibility Committee. This year we were invited and we have representation. I think Tracy attends also, as well as Derek and some others. So next slide, please. Okay, I did say June was incredibly busy, and these are individual days that are being celebrated and featured this month on our EDI calendar, and we've shared information, both educational, just to encourage curiosity and conversations for folks to continue to learn. And yesterday, as you know, was National Indigenous Peoples Day, and you see the upcoming Chinese Dragon Boat Festival and a couple of Muslim holy days that are sandwiched between Canadian Multiculturalism Day, which is a great visual to celebrate the blessing that is Canada's and CLTO's multicultural identity and pride. So next slide, please. Great. And more celebrations to come. Like if we're not done in June, July is coming, and it'll be a month of some great celebrations, specifically featuring the Toronto Caribbean Festival, the carnival, which will be launched officially at Nathan Phillips Square on June 11th. So get ready to party. And the next slide just kind of gives you a little bit more detail that it's not just the parade that generally folks think about the Caribbean Carnival as the flagship parade. There are many events happening throughout the month, so we encourage you to plan and attend and participate. All right, next slide, please. And this is just a screenshot of our EDI webpage on CLTO's website. So if you haven't visited, we encourage you to visit. It's cltoronto.ca. And if you click on the side menu on equity, diversity, and inclusion, this page will come up. You'll see that we list there each monthly awareness days, and it's hyperlinked to information. And we list community and CLTO events where you can register or get information to attend. You'll see on the right of your screen. So please, all of the events that I talked about today, you'll see the upcoming ones that are listed there for ease of registration and information. Next slide, please. I think is my last slide. I just want to thank everyone. Right on time too. There's my buzzer. Thank you so much for supporting our efforts to embrace and nurture a culture of anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion here at CLTO, and have a super summer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. The webinars, events, and education and awareness training made available throughout the month have been excellent. I've had the opportunity to attend some of them, indeed well attended by staff and the people we support. We greatly appreciate all the hard work and coordination by the Pride Collective and Indigenous Employee Resource Groups. So thank you so much for all the work that is going on. Now I would like to welcome our CEO, Brad Sanders, to provide an update on our new strategic plan 2023 to 2028. Brad, I would like to turn everything to you.
Thank you, Petronella. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I just have a couple of minutes where I wanted to give you a bit of a teaser into what you're going to be hearing a lot more about over the next number of months. And what's really going to drive our work at Community Living for the next 5 years. We've spent about a year as a board, as leadership, as an organization, trying to figure out where we need to focus our efforts and energies. What's important to us, what's changing in the sector, what we're hearing from the people that we support and their families as being critical. Last month, our board approved a strategic plan that has 3 overarching goals and then 5 strategic initiatives. So if I can get the next slide, I'll just touch on each of these a little in a bit of detail. So the 3 pillars that we're really basing our work on will be put people we support first, grow to meet increasing demand, and contribute to fostering community. The putting people we support first, this really has to do with a shift that we want to make in community living. A lot of our work is driven by the expectation of funders. We, as Heather was talking about earlier, we do family surveys and that type of work, but much of our work is driven by quality assurance measures from the ministry, expectations from the city around our homes, and it's a regulatory environment with which we operate. What sometimes gets lost in that is what is important to the people that we support and their families. What is the journey like that people go through when they encounter and engage with Community Living Toronto? Is it consistent? Is it a friendly experience? Do people get what they need when they want? And we think we've got room to improve there. The language that's being used and that we will start to use more of, but that's being used increasingly around the world, is that we want to make sure we're providing a good customer experience when people come to our organization and that they feel well respected and treated. We've got some work to do and define more what this needs. Everyone that's connected with our agency is going to have an opportunity to contribute to that, and we're quite excited about that really ambitious piece of work. The second pillar that we're working on is just quite simply, we recognize there's a lot of need in community in a number of different areas. We plan to intentionally grow over the next 5 years, whether that's through respite or the residential supports that we provide, or in housing, or in projects that we're getting into in employment and other areas. We will be growing to meet increasing demand. An example of this would be our passport program. We've been doing passports since it started, but in the last couple of years, we've really focused on providing more supports. We've seen about a 40% growth in our passport supports to community, and have ambitious growth plans for that this year as well. So just to give you an idea of what we're thinking. Finally, a pillar that we're really excited about as well, and is also a little new, is that we want to contribute to making Toronto a better, more welcoming city generally, but specifically around disability. We have a presence through sort of 50 homes that we're involved with, plus about 800 people that we support residentially, plus our sites that are located, our day support sites and that are around the city. We have a strong presence in the city. We want to make sure that we're part of our neighborhoods, part of our communities, that our community councils that are located across the city are really connected in with the people that are receiving supports, looking for supports, and in the neighborhood in general. To give you a sense of that, during COVID, one of the metrics that the city of Toronto used to make that they found to be helpful for people who were maybe isolated and struggling when they were diagnosed with COVID or having a hard time, was how many neighbors does that person have? If that they know. So how many people could you reach out to if you couldn't go grocery shopping? And it's as few as 4 or 5 or 6 people that you could reach out to in a community that really made a difference around what that community felt like. So we really want to, as an organization, embrace this idea of community. It's in our name. We want it to be a real driver for us. The next slide speaks to 5 initiatives that I won't get into other than to just put them up here and talk about them. That talks about some of the steps we'll have to take over the next 5 years to get us on our way there. So with that, I will wrap up just to say that there's lots more to come on this. You'll be hearing more, but it really we're really excited about this journey we're about to launch on, and we'll certainly be keeping you involved and updated as we go. Petronella, that was all for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brad, for shedding some light on Community Living Toronto's work over the next 5 years. Exciting times ahead. Thank you so much. My sincerest thanks to all our presenters today. It was a pleasure to have you with us and to hear your updates. And it's going to be an exciting summer. Any remaining questions, we will be captured and addressed. And the recording of today's update will also be shared on social media and in our newsletters. We will be taking a break for the summer, and our next Family and Friends update will be in September. However, if there are any topics you would like us to address, please do let us know, and we'll definitely consider them. And also, we encourage you to fill out the survey that is going to be circulated. We kindly consider this information very valuable, as it will inform our future topics and meetings as well. So thank you so much for choosing to be with us this afternoon. Have a great afternoon, and also have a great summer. Thank you very much.